At Lonato in Italy, the world's leading KZ gearbox kart racers will quest for glory to take the ultimate accolade, the title of World Champion. Also this weekend, the KZ2 drivers will race for the International Super Cup and will officially crown the 11th winner of the Academy Trophy. Riding aboard the modern barrel art of KZ2 star Simone Cunati along the main straight here at Lonato. Flat out left kink and balancing the throttle to improve grip through the right-hand apexes before a big stop at turn 4. Keep the kart central and try not to use too much excess curb on the way out. Down the pit straight and heavy braking into turn 5, which elevates mid-apex, and you blast down again on the power towards 6 and 7. Very tricky left-handers these, which if you approach and get the balance correctly, you can treat as one flowing hairpin. Let's finish the lap with European champion Marin Kramers. Into the chicane as he controls the kart steadily in the middle of the road as the kart snaps its way through the turns. 3 big hairpins to end the lap. The first is a natural overtaking spot, but with good rhythm and consistency, you can guide the kart into the left rather smartly before easing into the final corner. Exit well through here and you can gain momentum heading into the next lap. They call this place the Temple of Karting, and it's not hard to see why. With the title all but sealed heading into the weekend, all Conor Zilic must do to win the Academy Trophy is stay out of trouble and have fun. For second in the title fight, there are half a dozen drivers who could win it. And so, with some drivers having not even seen the circuit before practice, it's guaranteed to be an exciting and exhausting battle. As the field stormed into turn 1, Alexander Gubenko grabbed the best start from pole position, with Matteo De Palo joining him up front. But it was bad news for Conor Zilic, as he tangled with Frenchman Maceo Capieto. Jonathan Waywat and Alex Powell didn't wait around to pass Ivan Dominguez, and the door was left open for Gianni Andrezzani and Ariel Elkin to overtake as well. For Zilic, the race was over, but the title was his. He may not have won every race, but he was secure as the 11th Academy Trophy winner. Adam Kowalski would join him on the sidelines in bitter frustration. Then Maceo Capieto was out as well, after colliding with Alexei Yeleva, and that would cost him second place in the point standings. The next man to exit proceedings was Sweden's Albin Sturesen, so there was already high attrition. It wasn't long before De Palo took the lead, and the Italians watching at home were ecstatic. And Theo Makuris was able to slip past as well, to snatch second position. Waywat and Powell were still trying to catch the leaders, whilst Rafael Modenese moved ahead of Shuda Zono as they attempted to stay in touch. Gubenko was clearly agitated, having lost the lead, and he stormed back inside Makuris, and Israel's Ariel Elkin was now dangerously close to pouncing for third. In the end, he didn't need to hang around, and he seized his chance to make the podium. But he wasn't done yet. His next target was Gubenko, and he made a beautifully executed dive at turn 4, leaving the Russian to defend third from Makuris, which didn't last much longer, with the Brit on course for second in the standings. But as his tyres started to fade, the Brit would have to play defensively, much to the irritation of first Gubenko and then Waywat, with Jamaica's Alex Powell waiting in the wings. Frustration boiled over, and as they came to the end of the lap, Makuris was desperately holding the inside line. That gave Waywat his chance on Gubenko, which the Russian read beautifully, and he snatched the place back as instantly as he had lost it. The momentum was now with Powell, and he made his move on the Dane instead, only for Waywat to counterattack at the next right-hander. But Makuris couldn't hold on forever, and Gubenko seized the moment with determination and clinical technique. Waywat would now seek his own way through, and with some assistance from Powell, the Brit was finally vanquished, and his shot at the runner-up spot was looking fairly tenuous. From there, the floodgates opened, and both Modenese and Maxime Ferron-Castellen managed to pass him. But Japanese ace Shuda Zono would not be quite so fortunate, and he would have to wait for his moment. And it would be a tricky end to the race, as the clouds were starting to sweep over the circuit. Elkin had been steadily chipping away at the race leader, and when he made his move, it was smooth and sensational. Elsewhere, Waywat's season ended in frustration and rage after an excursion on track cost him a chance of third in the standings. But history was being made up front as Israel's first ever FIA Karting winner was discovered. Ariel Elkin led home the Italian star Matteo De Pallo for a flawless maiden win from 11th on the grid. Post-race, an exclusion for Furon Castellan elevated Makuris to second in the standings. So as the circuit rang out to the Israeli national anthem, it's worth noting that this could be the first of many for young Ariel Elkin, who was a worthy winner to end a brilliant season. Conor Zilic may be the first American to win the title, but today the glory belongs to Elkin and Israel.
It was a difficult race. I started in P11. I didn't even think about a podium or a win, but I did it. My target was just to do my best. I did it. It was a really good race. I think one of the best races in my life. And yeah, it was very difficult, but I did it. Now I'm focusing on the World Championship in Portimao, but after the World Championship, when I will go back to Israel, of course I will think about the plans for the next year. But it's too early.
This was one of my best races of my life. I did a really good start and I went behind Alex. After I passed him, I did a lot of laps on the lead, Ariel, that passed me, and I can't do nothing because he's really fast. Especially here, I did my first podium 1 year ago.
Style was not that bad. I managed to make a good gap from De Pallo and make a few laps alone, but then the speed was not that good, so Makuris and De Pallo overtake me, and I had to fight with them. After that, Ariel catches. I overtake Theo, but make a mistake after, so Ariel and Theo overtake me. Then I catch Theo again. I overtake him, and after that, he started to fight with the guys in the back, so I was just driving alone after.
Yeah, coming into this weekend, I knew I had the championship locked, so really I was just here to have fun, and I did that, but the final didn't end so well. I crashed out of the first corner, and after that, there's not much you can do. I still won the championship, so I'm still happy about that, but I'm gutted that I couldn't have a chance to go 3 for 3, but still a great run. Got the championship, the first American to do it, so I'm still happy.
The KZ2 International Super Cup is not just a chance to battle for a one-weekend shootout. It's also an opportunity for new talent to try this incredibly physical discipline, for returning figures of the sport who wish to rekindle former glory, and simply for those wanting to drive in one of the toughest races of the year. With 99 drivers bidding for 36 spaces on the grid, nothing must be left to chance. Simone Cunati bagged the fairy tale start from the front of the grid as Artur Carbonell and Lorenzo Giannoni moved ahead of Matteo Zanchi. Victor Gustafsson was trying to make up for lost time after an exclusion in the heats, and his job was made easier by his fellow countrymen Benjamin Tornqvist and Alexander Dahlberg taking each other out at turn 4. The field tried to find a sensible rhythm on the opening lap, but it would be without Tornqvist. He dived for the pit lane, so whilst the rest of the field raced for position, it would be the Leclerc by Lennox driver desperately hoping his car could be repaired. When it couldn't, it was clear the dream was over. After an impressive showing over the weekend and a genuine chance to win the International Super Cup, it was too much for the enraged Swede to cope with. Elsewhere, Giacomo Pellini was sweeping past Leonardo Marsiglia, whilst Cunati held on to the lead and Dahlberg returned to the pit lane, his own kart as damaged as his fellow Swedes. Then Carbonell made his inevitable bid for the lead and seized it, while Giuseppe Palomba followed Zanchi past Giannoni. But Cunati knew he had to retake the lead quickly, and at his first attempt, he made it stick. Then a huge incident, 7 drivers all eliminated on the spot, but quick work from the marshals meant the race could continue. Zanchi pulled off the save of the season at turn 1, but not without losing positions. He would join in with the epic squabble between Alexander Schmitz and Danilo Albanese. but the race would end in disappointment for Alessio Pacini and Harry Thompson, who was making his KZ2 debut this weekend. Pacini rejoined, but would finish at the back. Then the Italians started ganging up on Carbonell, first Palomba, then Polini, and quickly followed by Marsiglia and Albanese. But it would take a little longer for Matteo Zanchi to get through into 6th position. His patience would eventually be rewarded, but for Carbonell, it was agonising, and he accidentally shut the door on his teammate Hubert Petit as he made his own move on his compatriot, which gave Lorenzo Giannoni the place back again. That sent Giannoni back on a charge, and he would soon overtake Carbonell himself, whilst back in the pits, Jean Luyet joined his brother Samuel on the sidelines. European champion Victor Gustafsson was charging through the field, and as he gained places, Paavo Tonteri felt he could do likewise, but he reckoned without the determined defence from Daniel Vazil of Romania. Despite his earlier hard work in the race, Alexander Schmitz would retire from the race as well, with a handful of laps remaining. The next man to make a comeback was Senna van Waalstein, who sized up his teammate Giannoni and then decided to set off after Gustafsson, who he took completely by surprise in the final sector. But after 18 months of a string of second places, the man who it seemed could never find the luck finally grabbed the win he deserved, as Simone Cunati sealed victory in the KZ2 International Super Cup, the biggest prize in the world for a KZ2 racer. With Italian drivers locking out the top 6 places at Lonato, the temple of karting, it was a glorious achievement and proof that the Italians are still the kings of gearbox. So with Polini taking his first podium and Palomba giving the factory Birolart squad their first Super Cup podium for 3 years, it was the satellite outfit that beat the works effort with a fraction of the budget. And a victory that neither Simone Cunati or the Finocchi brothers at Modena ASD will ever forget, and has been a very long time coming. Their switch to the Birolart chassis for 2020 means it's still a win for the red and white karts, but the customers have taken a rare and special achievement. For Palomba and Polini, their time will surely come, but for Cunati and Modena ASD, the victory couldn't be any sweeter. The final was really fantastic. From the start, we got off to a good launch, which was the most important thing. After the start, a couple of laps in, a competitor overtook me. But I tried to keep calm and took a deep breath for a few laps, and then when I got back to the front, I immediately built the gap and I made my step ahead. It was really beautiful. I'm very happy. Surely winning this race was more important than the rest of the year, and I guess it makes you really happy. Not only for me, but for all the work the team has done, which is a fundamental thing for me. So tonight I will go home really happy. I can't stop smiling with my heart full of emotions. I'm clearly enjoying the end of the year, and I'm trying to do my best even in the championships that remain immediately after today. We will see what to do next in 2021. Yes, it was a very difficult weekend because of the weather conditions, and in the wet we had some very unlucky moments that made me 7th across the heats. Fortunately in the final, in the dry, I did very well. So in a way, 2nd is good, but I started 7th, which frustrates me a little, because if I started higher, maybe I could have done something more. But it went well enough. Surely we will do our best in the future. We will always give our best, and I will come back next year. We will try to climb the top step. This year went very well. I have almost always gone to the podium. So for this I have to thank Birolart and everyone at VT Racing for their technical support.
This is the first podium in FIA competition. The race was really hard for the bad weather condition. In the final I started from 11, and then the pace was good, very good. Did a lot of the pass, so it was a very good race for me. I continue, but with a better result from today, and I will try for win the final World Cup, but we will see.
It was a fairly important job getting strategies right, especially for the weather changes. Yes, it was not easy, and we tried to push everyone to the maximum to make us stay ahead as much as possible, even in the heats, risking as little as possible to participate in the best way we could on Sunday. I don't think it's really sunk in yet for anybody. but on Monday we will savour it, I'm sure. It's fantastic because winning as a privateer, I think, it's the maximum Simone can achieve. Not just for a driver, but for us all too, because we knew he could do it. I think we can even be better than we are at the moment, so for him this win is very important, to prove we could achieve it together. It's truly satisfying, an incredible victory. With so much tension, drama and intrigue heading into the World Championship final, a slight shower of rain on the formation laps would delay the start further, as the paramount focus on safety reminded us all that karting is still a human discipline. So, will Marin Kramers win back-to-back world titles, or will a new champion emerge? When the race did eventually start, it would be Jeremy Iglesias who beat Marin Kramers off the line ahead of Baz Lammers, slotting neatly into third. As the race continued, Mirko Torzolini was able to make a strong impression as he and Stan Pex put Tony Kart's Pedro Hiltbrand under massive pressure. Their intense duel allowed the Italians Riccardo Longhi and Luca Corberi to move ahead. In the greasy conditions, Corberi used his local knowledge to good effect and moved past them all. Fabian Federer in the SRP Maranello was on good form and surged ahead of Simo Puhaka, whilst in his OK1, Mauro Simoni was struggling, and after a tangle, he would drop down through the field. Torzolini was on the warpath again and made easy pickings of Adrien Renaudin and then Puhaka, providing a perfect testbed for Kart Republic's new brake bias lever beside the gear shift. Not a bad debut, but it clearly needed some work, as a missed shift meant Puhaka could take the place back, and try as he might, the Italian wouldn't get another shot. Back to the drawing board, perhaps? Lammers and Federer had now caught the leaders, and Kramers had made his move on Iglesias, so based on 2020 form, surely the Dutchman would pull away. But Iglesias had other ideas. He made his retaliation instantly, and despite Kramers making a strong bid, he couldn't make it work. Frustration turned to determination as Lammers passed the reigning world champion, and it was time for the Riccardo Kart driver to get back into contention. Meanwhile, an incident between Paolo Ippolito and Corberi forced the Tony Kart driver out of the race. Ippolito would later be excluded from the final for his manoeuvre, but Luca Corberi would be disqualified from the meeting for his very public and irrational response, endangering himself, the marshals, and his fellow competitors, and would have further ramifications afterwards, as the FIA had begun a full investigation. Kramers would then overtake Lammers for second, and to make matters worse for himself, Corberi then ignored Marshall's instructions and walked to the pit lane, only adding to his list of transgressions. Federer made a terrific move on Lammers for third place, but the Dutchman was ready for it and returned the favour with elbows out in a stupendous contest. But as two men fought over the final step of the podium, the Ital course of Mirko Mazzoni was parking up for the day after a tough weekend. And he wasn't the only one, as first Simoni joined an angry Corberi in the pit lane, along with Christoph Holt, after mechanical problems. A heroic final lap charge from Federer almost resulted in a podium finish. The moment of triumph, though, had finally arrived for the leader, and with a very popular victory, Jeremy Iglesias, one of the sport's truly great characters and ambassadors, has finally achieved the success that he has been working for his whole career. The euphoria bubbled over as he came across the line, and there were tears of joy for Jeremy, for the Formula K brand, and for French karting fans everywhere, as he became the first French KZ World Champion in history. It's an achievement only a handful of racers can say they've accomplished, and only one of the current Formula One drivers has ever made it happen. But the whole paddock was queuing up to offer their congratulations to a man who has given us one of the most enduring images of karting history. Kramers was magnanimous in defeat despite his obvious disappointment, and as the drivers toured in, they couldn't help themselves but try to congratulate him. It was one of the most beloved podiums of recent years, as Marin Kramers and Baz Lammers have both won FIA Karting titles before. And with Jeremy Iglesias finally joining the Hall of Fame as world champion, it seems one of the heroes of the sport has finally clinched the title he was always destined to achieve.
To be honest, the weekend was quite difficult because of the weather. Today, when we arrive, also we find dry condition again. We managed the first heat, winning the heat. Just we knew that something was missing to be able to win this final. Everyone in my team worked on it, so I guess we find it. I know in the final, Kremers was really fast, so when I saw he overtake me, I said, okay, if I don't pass him straight away, he will leave and my chance to win the title go. And I tried to pass. I passed him, and after I guess he fight with Bas, and I take a bit of distance, and I was able to manage the distance during all the final, and we get it. We did it.
It was a difficult one. With the weather being the way it was very challenging mentally. The 2 formation laps we did, then for the race to be called off and be delayed, very challenging to get back into it. My start wasn't the best, a little bit of wheel spin. I think maybe due to the rain that fell down earlier, but it is what it is. It's for the same for everybody, so yeah, should have started better. Got into second, got into a nice rhythm behind Jeremy, and made a move for the lead when I thought he was vulnerable, and then I thought I was checking out, but he got me back straight away, and then Bas made a move into the turn 2 in front of the bar, and that really locked up the race for Jeremy. He pulled away, he had a gap of over a second, I think. By the time I got back into second place, and then I started catching, and I started gaining half a tenth every lap, but yeah, it's not going to be enough. And then the last lap, Jeremy did very well. Second last corner, I made a small mistake, which made sure that I couldn't overtake him into the last corner, and then yeah, that was it. Second place this year. Not great, not happy with it, but it will do, and maybe we'll try again next year.
Yeah, it is incredible to be back on the podium again, especially at this race, because yeah, this year I didn't do a lot of races because of the COVID situation. I was able to do some 2 races extra just to make practice and to get in shape for this race. We have been working very hard this period to prepare everything for this race. And once again, I would like to thank Sodicard and TM Racing Engine for the fantastic support, help also the people at the factory from Sodicard, because all the work starts from there, and only when I have my helmet on, I have to try to make the difference, and I'm only able to do that with the support from the factory, so I'm very thankful for them, for the work that they did.
Not only this race we were working yet a couple of seasons. Like you can see, we're performing also with the Praga chassis, with the FK chassis, with the RS chassis, even with the OK1 chassis. It's all the brands. On the end, it's one company. We got different brands, and we work very hard, because you can see in KC2 we finished on the podium. We win with Jeremy. I think it's just a beautiful result of all the things that we did all together. I hope it's a start of a big winning. Like it's for the moment also in if you see in OKJ, in OK we're going quite good. I think it's a start of a big winning team.
Despite the obvious challenges and dramas, the sportsmanship and solidarity of karting lives on through the majesty of the World Championships. Alexander Gubenko, Matteo De Palo, and race winner Ariel Elkin end the Academy Trophy season on the podium. Elkin the first man from Israel to win in FIA Karting. It's an all-Italian affair in KZ2, as the International Super Cup is dominated by the homegrown talent, with Giacomo Polini and Giuseppe Palomba sharing the rostrum with the giant-killing underdogs. Simone Cunati, finally the winner after so much hard work, not just for the driver, but also for the independent Modena ASD outfit. After all, it's not every day that the small teams beat the factories. And in KZ, there were smiles aplenty on the podium. Baz Lammers returned to the rostrum for a second year running, and Marin Kramers did too, a year after becoming world champion. But in 2020, a new hero has emerged. It's the first World Championship title in gearbox for Formula K and for a French racer, the very popular Jeremy Iglesias. He, along with Cunati and Konozilic, can reflect on their momentous achievements, grasping the toughest title in their 2020 campaigns. But the FIA Karting story continues as we head to Portimao for the OK and Junior World Championships on the second week of November. So as our champions begin their celebrations, we'll see you in Portugal and say congratulations to Jeremy Iglesias, at last, the new world champion.